All right, Coach Bob here with Walt Brown. Walt, how are you today?
Really well. Talking to you, man. Must be a great day.
It's always fun chatting. So, Walt, I just want to have a little conversation. I've always enjoyed our conversations in the past where we push and we pull. It's a safe space. I've never felt judged by you. You ask great questions, you push and pull, and it helps me to hear myself think, and it helps me to evolve as a person. You're very intelligent and insightful, and we play in a lot of the same spaces, both being EOS implementers, both being thought leaders in other areas for the same target market for EOS. So excited to have a conversation. So our theme for this year, and a big theme of what I do, is living life beyond the vine. And so I've realized after coaching many visionaries for years and then helping them with implementing that a lot of visionaries have a hard time letting go of the vine if they don't know what life beyond the vine is. So any questions or comments around that, or things that you've witnessed around the vine? What is the vine?
I guess that is part of you have to figure out what the question is before you can actually go to the answer. But that's a lot of times how you discover what you're looking for is defining what the vine means.
Right.
Right.
So how would you define the vine? What is the vine?
Well, living life beyond the vine, probably one of the things that you can do with a vine is you can hang yourself.
Right.
Right. Or you can tie a noose around or a trap around your ankles or your arms or whatever. You can sure that maybe which vine is it that you're holding on to? You're grabbing hold of a poison ivy vine or a poison oak. I'm just riffing here, man, but I think that's kind of the idea of when you think about Tarzan, man, when he's holding on to the right vine, he can haul ass through the jungle. Even carry Jane with him, man, and that's probably like living beyond the wrong vine, maybe. And
That's interesting. And what vine to grab onto, right? No, I love it.
So you kind of that idea is the way to live beyond the current vine. It doesn't mean that you always have to be holding on to some kind of vine, I would guess, right?
Otherwise, we're right. Interesting. No, I love that.
And so that's just sort of
so
mine goes to.
The list also is for literally, and this dates myself, but for 40 years, I've defined success for what I do and what I accomplish, and being the first one in and the last one out. And even my dad's mentality, you work harder to be more successful. And part of it, I think, is like Dr. Doug Brackman talks about in the book Driven, is that many of us driven entrepreneurs have imposter syndrome. And so if I'm not working harder and doing more, I'm not worthy or successful. And I think that's true with a lot of visionaries, that if I let go of the vine and I'm working less, but being more and being more who I am, being okay with that. So have you noticed imposter syndrome in the visionary world?
All the time, beating myself. I might call them the maximum imposter, or the visionaries you run into who are basically narcissists. I mean,
Right.
that's the pure definition of imposter syndrome there, right? I guess, but run into them and it's like, yes, I'm sorry, your baby is ugly and we need to work on it. I'm not, and it's just, I think that imposter syndrome definitely does hold you back from being your best. It also dives into a lot of Dan Sullivan stuff of when we were younger. I had this conversation the other day with a dude, and sort of the same idea of in the age. A lot of times I ask people how old they are. Hey, how old are you? They'll say I'm 37 or 38 or 42, and they're coming around to what we do, Bob. And that was sort of the break time for me, where Dan Sullivan just put words around it, where I was the rugged individual doing everything myself, and I discovered my unique ability at that point.
Right.
And then understanding, then I think living beyond the vine is actually grows into understanding your unique ability, and then even going beyond how you're using that unique ability to put more back into the world than you take. You're 10xing, like all those words, 10xing not for yourself, but for other people. I mean, and beyond the vine is, can you put your feet on the ground every morning and be super comfortable with what you're actually getting ready to do all day long?
I love that. And then Sullivan, if I remember properly, it's the rugged individual, then we stabilize, then we grow, then we multiply, or something similar. And for me, OS helps people and helped me to stabilize and start to grow. But then I see a lot of visionaries are like, well, what next? What's my role? And so what we talk about, bringing life beyond the vine into the conversation, it's like, so So, Bob, why are you on this planet? And be more of that. And I find a lot of visionaries are like, well, as soon as I sell my company, then I'll be me. No, you don't have to sell your company. Be you now.
Yeah,
And that's the spirit of the business. And sometimes process can feel stifling to the visionary. So I love that EOS took us to a certain point, but then also a lot of us visionaries need to step into our greatness for the vibe, the energy, my unique ability. I call that great gift. Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, what you're talking about, getting in that stabilize. So I talk about just I put my feet on the ground every day. Like the vine that I am hanging on to is to remove the confusion and dysfunction that's holding individual contributors back from being the best they can be. Well, it's the same thing. As visionaries, a lot of times we sort of thrive on a little bit of confusion, a little bit of dysfunction, that new thing, right? And what is it that we can do that to stabilize? Process is important, and clear ownership of
For sure.
A lot of people don't recognize that. This is me getting super nerd here. This is one of my mantras. One of the beautiful things about that EOS accountability chart is we define roles.
Yep.
Help people define their roles. And then when you get super nerd about process, if you pick that word up, roles follow procedures that are part of processes. And part of getting out of the vine is recognizing what roles you don't like and what procedures you hate doing as part of the process. If there is a thing. I don't know, it's kind of crazy, maybe circular talk, but.
Well, no. And that rolls into, I know you're an amazing implementer, but you're like a lot of us visionary implementers that we are a thought leader in other areas. And so I've heard you speak on many different areas in employee engagement and the new way to look at the accountability chart. So a couple minutes, what is your book about? What are you teaching now? It was separate from EOS, but obviously in alignment with EOS.
Oh, they're totally aligned. So I have this kind of graph type stuff. So I'm a statistics guy, right? I love numbers, and I'm also a high implementer on the Colby. So I'm a model drawing type, so I'm visual. And I've always looked at EOS as an employee engagement, a buy-in, inclusion, trust, and whatever program.
Right.
And so the book is called Attract or Repel. It's basically describing this 7 questions, 7 promise framework, is that we call it. 7 questions to measure the level of health of your organization. And then once you can measure something, then you can actually take action on it. And the cool thing is when you're doing EOS, you can take action on it. Gino endorsed it, and then Ben Bella Books picked it up.
That's
so they're
awesome.
publishing it this coming fall or spring. Really proud of it. It's not proud. Wow, I can't believe it's happening. But I asked Glenn Yellen why. He says, well, I loved it. And we're publishing Patrick Lencioni now. We're publishing all the traction books. And there's a gap on the bookshelf, Walt, between those two. I'm talking about Brene Brown. I'm talking about Patrick and all those thought leaders, psychological safety. And he says, we need a book, a bridge book. Wow. That's okay. Well, that's sort of a high standard. I better get my ass moving. And it works. I've been doing it with my clients for the last 7 years, and it's slowly getting its way out. But how do you measure? We're measuring what we call buy-in, inclusion, trust, and engagement. Whether people know that they belong, whether they believe in where things are going, whether they're clear on what they're accountable for, how they're clear on how they're measured, how they're clear on how they can be heard, how their development ultimately balance. And when you combine those 7 things and people get to yes, then you have really high levels of engagement and buy-in. We can actually measure it. And we're putting that onto an index that you can compare different companies. And over the years, we can see when their index grows, or their trust index grows, their financials grow. I just finished a 2-day annual with a client that was enjoying 85s. And then they lost a key person, and their integrator fell out of the lead and management seat down into a daily doing seat. And their bite index fell down to a 73, and their freaking financial numbers followed it down. So it's this really cool thing that I think I have
you cracked the code.
Maybe so, man. That cool that you can actually then take action on through your tools of EOS. It wasn't hard. Somebody just came back and said, well, clearly we got GWC problems, et cetera. But that's really the passion right now.
So congratulations, and thank you for sharing with the world. So in a nutshell, what can I do as visionary to help buy-in and inclusion and building trust? I mean, I know it's the 7 questions, but what's my role in that?
Your role in it is just getting really clear on always repeating what it means to belong. And then your job is making sure people understand where we're going, so they're buying into the belief. And then just making sure that you're surrounding these people with folks who are accountable and measured and honest in their hearing and stuff. But ultimately, the integrator in my world is the one who is in charge of culture and buying, inclusion, and trust and engagement. And the visionary, it's not the visionary's job, because they aren't good at going in every day and keeping it rolling.
Right.
Sitting down and listening. I'm not good at that. I'm horrible at that.
Right.
But so when the integrator takes it and the leadership team recognizes they're the owner of the index, that's the main thing. It's just supporting it. They're making it way is what I'm saying.
Right. No, I appreciate it. But then to truly support it and not sway people away from it. So you're going to be at Summit March 11th, 12th, and 13th. So thank you for joining us as a participant. Thank you for being one of our 3 amazing presenters. So give us a taste of, I know you're going to teach us some of the things about Repel, a few exercises around it. So can you give us a glimpse of what to expect, other than I know we're going to have fun. We're going to push and pull. So I appreciate that. But so can you give us, what are we going to learn at the summit from you?
Well, I'm just looking forward to first being a bunch of thinkers. Can't wait. Open-minded visionary thinkers. I can't wait. And kind of other thing I'm trying to do here is we go through and we talk about living beyond the vine. If your financials are healthy and your organizational health is healthy, then so much of the worry as a visionary or an owner go away.
Right.
When you all under control and you got ways to measure, do I have dysfunction going on in my organization, or is it healthy?
Right.
That's what the things the Bite Index does. And that's really what I'm trying to share is a methodical way to measure, and then a very methodical way to respond. The core of what's in Attract or Repel are these things we call the 7 promises. So you're actually making, we'll talk about the power of a promise made and kept, and then how you create the promises, how you make them, and then how you give your people the ability to measure how well you're keeping your promises. It's kind of a high level of accountability, and then show you, when you're failing on the promise keeping, how you flip that script and come back and help them engage in that. Hey, we are doing this for you. So, God, I think I don't know how many guinea pigs we have that are signed up. I don't know if that's a politically correct word now or not, but
Summit will have 30 to 35 of us there. Yes.
Yeah. And I think some of the Summit attendees are going to do the survey before. So we actually have real life work. I think we're planning on breaking out into breakouts.
Awesome. So send out the survey to the participants and just, let us know how long we need to set aside to take it. And I found, I've been an EO for 27 years with my forum. We did our 27th annual retreat a few months ago. And when the retreat is successful, and this is what we've been great at, is we do the prep before we show up. So yes, you have a book they can read if they want, at least to do the survey. And then ask some questions for the other presenters as well. And then show up and be present. Go off the grid for a couple days. This is a retreat. And as you know, I do the mountain retreat, and I love that, where we are immersing ourselves and we are working on ourselves. And so to leave with a shift in our mindset, we call it ahas, and then leave with a couple things that we promise to either start or stop doing when we re-enter back into the world. So so I'm very excited about that.
I can't wait to be part of the group.
All right. Well, you're the perfect person and again, I've been after you this is our 5th summit, and I've asked you to be a part of, I think, each one, and I know you're busy, so I appreciate your time. And again, we found that, not just to have thought leaders bomb in, talk to us, and leave, it's to come in and immerse yourself. And again, I know you're a student as well as a teacher. Yeah. A lot of the learning is, hey, here's what, hey, gang, what Dr. Lisa said, or what Deirdre said, or what Coach Bob said. And then it's the after dinner drinks and laughing. And again, what I'm hearing from you is key. And that's where I think that's a big part of our role. That is a big part of my role as a visionary, is to trust myself, trust the vision, make promises and keep them, trust my people, let go of mine. And so I've already learned so much from you over the years, and mainly I have a ball with you, dude. So I can't wait to hang for 3 days.
Me too. I can't wait either, Bob. All
right. Well, I appreciate your time. We'll talk before then, and then we'll look for the survey, and we'll send that out to the group. And appreciate you, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, I think we got a ping on like one to make sure it gets all rolling. So we're set. So
perfect. All right. Well, love you. Have a great day. All right.
Happy holidays. Thanks.